Good evening. Welcome to the Danvers Conservation Commission for April the 10th, 2025. We as a commission operate under the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 26 of the Town of Danvers General Bylaws, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. After each applicant presents his or her request and the board has had time to ask questions and discuss the project, we will accept questions from the audience. Because this is a public meeting, it is required by law that you give your name and your address before you speak. Although we may disagree on the issues raised, all persons present during this meeting are expected to be civil to all other meeting attendees. This includes members of the commission, staff, abutters, concerned citizens, property owners, and project applicants. We also request that you confine your questions to the project and only as it pertains to the Wetlands Act. We cannot handle, nor do we have jurisdiction over matters such as noise or traffic. All problems not related to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Danvers Wetlands Protection Bylaw must be taken up with other appropriate boards. Our first order of business will be a roll call. Peter Wilson is present. Lorraine Drapek.
Present.
Mary Haight.
Present.
And Michael Splain.
Yeah, here.
All right, so we have our 4 members. The first item on our agenda is a notice of intent for 112 Burley Street, DEP file number 14-1431. The applicant is Sean and Susan Stone. You see Bill Manuel is here representing the Stones.
Yes, good evening. Bill Manuel from Wetlands and Land Management here in Danvers. This is a fairly simple project. The project is 112 Burley Street. This is just a couple doors up from the ball fields at the Danvers High School. The property, what they want to do is put a new in-ground pool. And this is another one of those properties where there is an entrenched stream that runs right along the edge of the rear yard. I put up 7 bank flags. You could see from the contours here, it's very steeply sloped down to the edge of the brook. This is a tributary to Frost Fish Brook, and it is an intermittent stream in this location. It is shown as such on the USGS map, and I've also given you the stream stat printout that shows that it has a very small watershed and a very small residual flow in the 99% flow duration. So we have bank resource area here. It's the bank of this tributary brook. And this is the proposed pool with a concrete apron around it. This is the 35 no disturb zone line and then the 50-foot no build line. The improvements they'd like to do are the pool, the apron around it. This is where they were going to put the mechanicals, the filter and the heater. And then this is going to be a concrete slab, a patio, with a pergola over it. So all of that, with the exception of this small little triangle, is outside of the 50-foot no-build zone. This triangle is about 45 square feet. They've tried everything they can. They're aware of the 50-foot no-build zone. They tried to respect that in every way. They even reduced the width of the pool. You see it's only 15 feet wide. They minimized the decking around it, and this 45 square feet, we consider it unavoidable for this type of project. The backyard is entirely flat. You can see from there's virtually no contours here in the backyard. It's virtually level. There is an existing fence all around the backyard. Access will be from the street. There's a gate here. They'll probably have to take that section of fence out and access through here, put the fence and the gate back when they're done. As far as the incursion in the no-build zone, there is less than 1% of the no-build zone on the property. So 45 square feet. I have a table in my information I presented to you. So it certainly complies with your allowed incursions in the no-build zone. As mitigation, Susan is an avid gardener, and I suggested that we mitigate for this incursion by putting 100 square foot minimum pollinator garden. I'm liking pollinator gardens these days. Our insect friends need a lot of help, and so any place I get a chance to encourage a pollinator garden, this is a perfect place for it. It builds on this, behind the gate is all kind of wooded and shrubby, so it's an area that builds on the already vegetated riparian corridor there, so it's more than 2-to-1 mitigation ratio, so we hope that the commission will look fondly on that and approve the project. So that's all I have for this evening.
Bill, on the right-hand border, what are those 2 buildings, sheds?
There are 2 existing sheds, yes.
And where is the 200-foot line for the riverfront?
Because this is intermittent, there is no riverfront.
So where is the 100-foot
It's the
line?
100.
Oh, so the 100 is like right out here.
This was all within that. I don't have any real questions. It's a new pool. It's not
It's a new
existing.
pool, and I should tell you, it's going to be a fiberglass pool. So it comes in a preformed shell.
I've seen them.
So once they get the excavation formed up, they put a sand bedding in there and then drop the fiberglass in.
From the street over the house?
No, it's light enough, they'll carry it right in.
What are the dimensions on the pool?
32 by 15.
Okay, I really don't have a whole lot of more questions. Mike, do you have any?
Yeah. Would you just show where the 32 feet run on the pool?
There. to
That
there.
way. So, does that length impact on the 45 feet in the no-build?
The pool itself is completely out of the no-build zone. It's just this decking here. This green line is the no-build line, and this red line is the outline of the deck, and it's just that
And
triangle.
where's the decking to walk around, to walk around the pool?
Yeah, it's concrete. I call it pool decking, but it's concrete.
It'll drain which direction, Bill?
They typically shed them by about 0.5% away, a couple of inches of pitch away from the pool so that you don't have rainwater falling and draining into the pool.
As far as 100 foot, I mean, so many of the Woodvilles are within that 100 foot anyway. I mean, it's just unavoidable, I think.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And when you say they tried every which way to eliminate the intrusion into the no-build, did you have input on that?
They were aware of it, and before they got to me, they already had crunched it up enough, as much as they could. As I said, the pool is only 15 feet wide.
Okay. That's all I have.
So just one quick follow-up question with the patio is in the pergola. It seems to me there's something that says, is it 10 feet wide? What is that there?
That is the dimension of the pool decking. There's the edge of the pool. The arrow is right on top of the edge of the pool, and the pool decking there is 10 feet wide, and then this is the patio with the pergola.
Is that standard width of a pool decking, 10 feet?
It's preference. If you want to put some, chaise lounges or something on that end of the pool at 10 feet wide allows you to put that there and get around it.
It's not 10 feet in the other area, though.
It is.
No, the other area, this is 4. They scrimped that up
Yeah.
to try to get compliant, but in order to get, you could see, there's where the no-build line is there. They'd have to make this like a foot wide. And you just don't want to be walking along something a foot wide.
No. Okay. That's all.
Okay, thanks. Lorraine, any questions?
I don't have any questions, no.
Mary?
Nope. Just thank you for the garden.
Yeah.
Is there any public comment or questions? Mr. Bradstreet?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. I know you folks have done your job. Considering what I've been told over the years, the water table's very high in Woodville. If the pool is put in, does that have any adverse effect on, say, the stream or what's behind?
I don't know, how deep is the pool, Bill?
The deep end is like 6 feet. I'm not positive of that number, but it's not like a gunite with a form deep end. I'll come up and post
Yeah,
it.
it displaces water because it has to.
Here's the elevation of the brook. This is assumed datum, but, 188 along the edge of the brook, and we're talking nearly 12 feet higher.
Yeah.
The brook is kind of the surface water expression or surface expression of the groundwater elevation.
Yeah.
And so we're 12 feet higher than that.
Yeah.
We're not going
Hey,
to,
Bill, are those pools known to float up? I mean, if you have freezing,
the main drain is usually a two-way drain, so if there was groundwater, it would just come up through the main drain and not push it up.
Oh, if the ground freezes, though?
I don't know.
I mean, do they anchor them when they go in, or they just sit in them?
I'm sure they do a fiberglass pool.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact methodology
I was
of installing the
more
pool,
curious
but
than anything.
remember, you're going to have all that water that's sitting in the pool too, which is working against the groundwater forces.
Don't we have a condition with water in the pools?
It's for draining it, yes.
For draining,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Is that part of?
Yeah, those are kind of the stock pool conditions.
You're aware of that?
Yep. It's something to the effect about letting the water sit for a couple of days and, yep.
Yep, exactly.
When there is pool changeover, close up in the fall, and they have to discharge water, where will that water discharge to?
Well, they'll probably just direct it out onto the ground. You got enough area to do it. This is a cartridge-type filter. It has no, none of that white powder, the DE.
Diatomaceous earth.
Yep, so there's no foreign substance, if you will, coming out of that filter. It's a paper filter.
Oh, just the chlorinated water, right?
But that's the purpose of
Right,
letting it
let it
sit for several days.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Bill, do you have any further questions?
I don't.
The other Bill.
Bill Bradstreet.
Oh, sorry.
Not you.
I was just curious as what he said. That pool is normally drained at the end of the season. It's not one that has to be or can be left with water in it, and I don't know, they put a cover, one of those inflatable things to keep the cover up.
I think they just
Well,
draw
they drain
down the
it to
water.
a level, below the skin.
Yeah, they don't empty it.
They don't have to discharge all of the
Expensive.
water. Very good. And if it were, that would be the tendency that what you're talking about, the ground freezes. We all know what happens in Danvers when the ground freezes, everything comes out.
Yep.
Okay, I was more concerned with it being placed where it is, close to the brook, and again, the water table being high. Thank you.
Is there any other comment, questions? No? Anyone else from the board have any further comments, questions? No? All right, why don't we close the public hearing then? Someone make a motion to that effect, please?
I'll make a motion to grant a waiver.
No, hold on, we
Oh,
have to
sorry.
close the public
Oh,
hearing
close it,
first.
sorry, my bad.
All right, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we have two votes. We have to vote on
Waivers.
a motion to grant a waiver, if we choose, and then a second vote to issue an order of conditions.
I'll make a motion to grant a waiver to allow work in the 50-foot no-disturb zone for 112 Burley Street.
For the no build. Yeah.
Number 14-1431.
Yep. The point of clarification for the no-build zone, but not
Oh,
the
yeah,
no
yeah.
disturb.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good.
And then we have to.
Now we have
order
to,
conditions.
now we have to vote on order of conditions, so if someone can make a motion to that.
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 112 Burley Street, DEP number 14-1431, with additional conditions as discussed.
I'm just gonna put a stop things for just a hold for a second.
Okay.
We didn't talk about stockpiling or,
With that, I mean, Bill's thorough, they're gonna have that covered. What guarantee do we have that pollinator's garden will be built?
Since we proposed that in support of the waiver, I would expect that you'd have a condition in there that says that
right,
at the end of the project, you'd better be 100 square feet of pollinator garden there.
Okay, so whoever made the motion, let's just add that as a
Include
condition then,
that.
please.
So the applicant is proposing a pollinator garden as mitigation,
100 square foot.
100 square foot.
And that would need to be completed before a certificate of compliance would be issued. Okay, the motion's been made with one condition. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so you're good to go. So we'll see you in here in less than 3 years, right? Okay. And hopefully you get the pool in so you can use it this year. Okay, next up is 61 High Street, DEP file number 14-1432. The applicants are Richard and Stacy Botelli, and I presume that's a trust. And Bill, you're representing them as well?
Yes. Good evening. Bill Manuel from Wetlands and Land Management here in Danvers. The applicant, Richard Bocelli, is here. He is the design architect. He lives at 61 High Street, and his company is 8 Point Design, which is the architectural design firm that created this project. Jay Polakowitz from Hancock Associates is here. He is the engineer of record, and he has done a wonderful plan set that shows in detail all of the information that the commission is going to want to see and discuss this evening. I'm happy to report that we have a DEP file number. It's 14-1432. It was issued with no comments. I'm even happier to report that Jay and Richard have worked with town staff throughout the design and planning process, got a lot of input, and worked through all of the engineering comments. They have a clean engineering review letter, and they also got site plan approval on Tuesday night for this project. So now I'd like to talk to you about the Conservation Commission. It is in the buffer zone to a vegetated wetland in the back of the property, and Emily, perfect, that's the sheet I wanted to see. This is the existing condition survey. High Street's out here. This is a residential dwelling where Richard lives, Richard and his wife Stacy. There's a circular driveway in front, stone landscaping. The backyard is generally open. There's a hardscape feature here. The limit of wetlands is right along the back of the property. There is a distinct drop-off at the edge of the maintained lawn. And this is a sort of a typical vegetated wetland here that has arrowwood, skunk cabbage, jewelweed, the typical suite of vegetation for around Danvers and Essex County. It is a bordering vegetated wetland. There is a culvert pipe that drains this area, and it sends it off towards the south. This particular plan doesn't have the 35 and the 50, but the rest of the plan sheets do. So I think sheet C5 would be the best sheet to walk you through the project. So the project is going to require the demolition of the existing home, driveway, all the features on the lot, and this is a 3-story multi-use building. We'll have commercial space on the ground floor, and we'll have 8 residential units on floors 2 and 3. The things you want to hear, the entire building is outside of the 50-foot no-build zone. The only incursions into the no-build and no-disturb zone are related to the stormwater management features here, and your regulations allow for incursion into those zones for the purposes of stormwater management features. The drainage system is a permeable brick paver system all around on the walkways plus the driving surface. All of the parking is underneath the footprint of the building at the ground level, so that further minimizes any occupation of space at the ground level. The roof water is collected and directed to this infiltration area. It has to be built up a little bit to provide the proper separation to the groundwater as required by DEP. And so there's a low retaining wall that picks up the grade so that we don't have any unnecessary incursion into the no disturb zone. This infiltration area has to have an outlet, and so that outlet is here with a properly designed riprap velocity reducer at the end of the pipe. That is the only incursion into the no disturb zone. Presently, it's all grass. This is subsurface. When we're all done, other than the riprap, it will be all grass when we're done. As far as the incursions, as I said, they are all subsurface, and they are all for drainage. Again, I've given you a chart that lays out the amount of incursion into each zone, and we end up being just under the 20% threshold. We're about 19.7%, but when you break that down to your no disturb zone, we're a 6.2%, which is less than the 10% that's allowable. And we are 15.7% in the 0 to 50 of the 0 to 50 zone. The allowable incursion is 20%. That totals of 15.7%. So we meet all your criteria, and in particular, because this is stormwater management, as I said, your bylaw allows that incursion. We've given you an alternatives analysis in my narrative. We've walked you through the criteria for allowing for a waiver. We've walked you through all your interests of your bylaw and how the property is, or the project is consistent with all the interests of the bylaw. And then we also offer up some mitigation in support of this waiver. Again, there is this hardscape area that we are in the no build and no disturb zone. We're removing that, and we're going to revegetate that. And again, we think that this is a very good project. Planning seemed to think so as well. They issued the site plan approval on Tuesday. Again, we have the clean review from engineering, and we hope that we're here to answer any questions, and we hope you look favorably on the project as well.
Couple quick questions, Bill. The parking is the staircase type drawing?
These are the spaces
Right.
labeled underneath the building. Well, incorporated into the ground level of the building.
And that's for the residents, or is that for patrons of the businesses, or both?
How is that? It's for all the residences.
What about clients for the business? I mean, where are they gonna park?
Yep, they get to use on-street parking, right?
And my other question is, what is this jog out onto High Street, the dashed line?
Limit of work, that's where utility connections are. Connect to water, sewer, electric.
So there will be disruption to the traffic?
Yes.
Yeah.
And where is your erosion control laid out? Is it on this drawing?
Yeah, that's what this heavy line is here.
The dashed line?
Sheet C2, if you could, Emily.
Yep.
So,
Sorry, it's moving a little slow here.
yep, that should do it.
Sorry.
Whoop.
It's very touchy.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. It actually picks up the demo of that hardscape feature there, so it goes all around, like that.
And where will the spoils from excavation be stored?
They'll be taken off-site. They'll probably be, well, first there's demo of the house, that gets loaded into a roll-off, and then there's no room really for any storage, so they're just going to probably live load. You might have some temporary while in between trucks, but generally they'll have to live load excavated material out.
Okay. Any other questions? Mike, any questions?
Snow removal and snow storage.
Were there waivers for parking on planning, at the planning board?
No, nope.
And when this says, I'm reading it wrong, when this says parking is located at ground level, it's sub-level, isn't it?
No.
No?
It's at ground level, and, the residential units are floors 2 and 3.
And where do you enter the property?
You would enter, if you went back to sheet C5. Yep. This is the permeable brick paver access way to the parking spaces underneath.
Now, the stormwater management system, can you talk about that?
This is I can do it, or Jay could do it a lot better. How about that?
All right.
So, good evening, Jay Polakowitz with Hancock Associates. The stormwater management system that we're proposing is a series of chambers. It'll collect roof runoff from the building itself. The chambers are set up for infiltration. They will hold up to the 10-year storm below the outlet structure, which is that drain manhole on the north side. There's a weir within that. So beneath the 10-year storm, you're only seeing minimal flow outside of the orifices. Beyond that, overflow will go over the weir and then out the outlet. And we are cutting down on peak rates of runoff and volume from the existing pre-construction condition to post-construction. And then the permeable surfaces will allow water to infiltrate throughout them. On the driveway, there's a series of under drains, and that'll allow for even distribution of stormwater below that. That way, there's not one portion of the reservoir layer being overloaded, while there's one portion that's getting none. In the rare case that would overflow, there is an overflow drain on the end of those. Water would bubble out of that and drain via overland flow to the wetlands.
What's the direction of the flow of water generally off the property?
So there are two directions of runoff. A very small area of the
Can you
property.
just point to those?
Yep.
Use your finger.
So there's a small portion of the lot in the existing condition about this that drains out to the street and out to the catch basins in the street. So we're mimicking that in our proposed condition. Again, a small area going out to the street. Most of the site in the existing and proposed conditions all drains back to the wetland. We're mimicking existing drainage conditions. Like I said, we're cutting down on peak rates in both directions.
On the permeable, what is it? What does that permeable material consist of?
So the difference between a permeable paver surface and a normal paver surface is the cross-section of the pavers themselves. So
Are they
there's
brick size or?
Yeah, so I guess it depends on the style you choose. It really comes down to the aggregate that you're using and the spacing between the pavers. There's a bigger space between them with a coarser aggregate, and that allows for water to go in between the bricks. And then it'll go to a reservoir layer below, which is
You're
where
saying
the...
there's a space between the bricks?
There is, and it's a coarse aggregate that goes in between there versus like a polymeric sand, which turns into like a concrete.
The bricks have holes in them, right?
They have nubs on the side of them so that they provide about a half-inch gap between them.
And are there drains on the property, or is it basically that permeable system?
Water will drain right through them.
Huh?
Water will drain right through the pavers.
So there's no other drains? It's,
No. So there is a drain within the garage area that will collect any dripping from cars or melting snow. Because it's within the building, it falls within plumbing code, which means it has to go to an oil water separator and then is drained to the sewer system in the street.
do you know the size of that system that's, the one that's within the no build, no disturb?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the exact dimensions.
You could take it by taking a look, is there a scale? that you can use?
So each one of those chambers is 7 feet long, so 28 feet long by, I think they're 3 feet wide. So, plus or minus a little bit, let's call it 30 by 9. The system is sized according to the size of the building and the soils that were found on site. So they match the infiltration rate and the volume going towards it.
And who determined the area of wetland, the bordering vegetated wetland?
That was Bill.
And where does, is that flag, Bill, or? And you're right up against it with that drainage, right? Oh, you're in it. You're actually in it.
Not in it.
Huh?
Close, within 3 feet.
Of the 35?
Of the 35, but you're in the 50, right? I thought you said that because that was allowed.
Are you referring to this area right here? The
No,
outlet?
To the chambers.
The chambers.
Oh, so this is, this line here is the 50, and this line here is the 35. So you can see the subsurface chamber is into the 50, but not into the 35. This outlet pipe and the riprap velocity reducer is in the 35, but it's not in the wetland.
So that looks, where did you, can you point to the 50 again on the chamber?
Right through here,
Right there?
yep.
And then, so,
And then the 35 is right
right
through.
there, so it is about 15 feet wide then, the chamber?
No, because remember, I talked about this retaining wall here?
Yeah.
That is on the outboard side of the infiltration area.
Oh, better? Yeah, okay. All right, well, it would be nice to go out and see this. Well, what would we see out there now? Just the existing house?
Yes.
And what else?
Nice landscaping.
The area that you've flagged off for the...
Mhm.
And what's the size of the house on there now, a footprint?
2,000 square feet?
What's the
That's-
footprint?
Yeah, what's it? 1,000? 1,200.
Well, I mean, no, like 30 by 50, 20, but what's the footprint?
You got a rough idea? Yep, would you go back to the first sheet, Emily? One more. So that's the, I mean, I could scale it.
Right.
Decide, let us know who you are before you.
Richard Bocelli, 61 High Street. The back of the building is probably about 30 feet, and from back to front is probably about 50 feet. And obviously, there's
So
jogs that...
1,500?
No, it's about 1,200. You see how it
Oh, because of
jog-
the indent, yeah,
Correct,
okay, I get
correct,
that.
yeah.
So, and what's the footprint on the existing?
The new.
Around
Know what I
six-
mean? Thank
around
you, Bill.
6,000.
6,000. All right. Hey, help me out here. So I'm picturing, I'm driving down High Street to the port. I go by the variety store, I go by the cemetery.
Right next to the phone building.
Yeah, we're right next to Verizon.
You just before the sub shop and the Verizon building on the brick building?
We're right before Verizon.
Yeah.
If you're heading towards 128.
Yeah, okay.
Right before
On the same
Verizon.
side, yes.
White picket fence, yellow house.
All right. All right, that's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Lorraine?
I wanted to ask about snow removal and snow storage. What's the plan for that?
Sheet C5, please. So, actually, if you would go back a couple of sheets, which one is it? C4. Perfect. We have an area designated for snow storage right in here, right off the end of the permeable brick paver access way. And if we have,
Can you show that again? I missed it. Well,
Right
that's
in
close to the no build, no disturb, right?
yes, it's outside of it, but it's not,
Close to.
it's close to it, yes.
And is that, sorry, Bill, but is that adequate to store all the snow that would be scraped off of that walkway?
In smaller storms, probably going to fill that up. If we have successive storms, then it's going to get stacked up probably a little bit further into the no-build zone, but it's snow. It's not a structure. So, and in a super excessive storm, they'll have to take it off-site.
And will that walkway be treated with salt, sand? anything of that nature?
This is not treated with sand at all because it's meant to be the
You
pervious.
plug it up.
You would plug it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Lorraine, you have anything else? No?
Thank you.
Mary?
Is the garage closed in? Is it like the part of the house? So if you were to look at the garage side, is it closed in with like concrete? Or is it open?
The garage is covered but open to enter.
So it's covered on the top and maybe poles so people can pull in and out?
Correct.
And there's drainage
Yes.
and it'll be sloped in. And then my other question was the subsurface chamber. Where does the drainage go? Is that the little thing coming that way?
Goes to the wetland.
Not supposed to go into the ground.
Do you mind going to the next sheet?
Supposed to percolate.
So all the roof runoff from the building will go down a series of roof drains entering from both the north and south side of the chamber system. It will fill up the chambers and allow it to infiltrate.
Could you show me the chamber? Is that just the part at the top?
The chambers are these here.
Yeah, so that's where it goes. From there, where does it go?
So it'll fill up, and then it'll start filling up this structure here, which is the outlet control structure. It has a weir in it, so basically a wall, a dam. And so the water will fill up till it gets to the top of that dam and infiltrate, and a large storm will go over the dam, out this pipe to a flared end section, to a riprap dissipation pad, which will slow down the energy. And then there's a level spreader on the end, which is essentially a vertical granite curb set level. And the reason for that is it avoids any sort of point discharge. It'll distribute it over, I think it's 11 feet wide.
So to answer the question, it's going to go to the wetland.
It's going to go to the wetland, yeah.
That's in excess of a 10-year storm, right?
Yes,
A 10-year storm, the infiltration units should be able to handle that.
yes.
But the garage is open?
So the garage essentially would be a garage without a door. So it's open between some of them. There's going to be a peak between the permeable pavers in the garage. So everything on the outside will drain out, anything on the inside will drain in. And that'll go to a floor drain in the center of the garage, which will go to a oil water separator and then out to the sewer system in the street.
Thank you.
One quick follow-up, the infiltration system, we see a lot where people propose those, and then there's,
They do something else.
when time comes to actually build, the cost, or for whatever reason, they don't do it. And they go to a retention pond instead. Would the retention pond be the same size?
So initially, we had looked at retention on this site. For a few different reasons, we couldn't do that. The biggest thing with the pond would be that the offset to the building itself, we're really close to the building. Ideally, you should be over 10 feet from the building. Instead of that, we're proposing a 40 millimeter wide impermeable barrier to provide separation. It's a lot harder to do that with a pond. Plus, with the system that we have here, we can propose a retaining wall to really limit the limit of work. If we start doing a pond, it turns into grading, and the grading will extend further into the no disturb zone, and then we'll be over the amount of disturbance allowable by the waiver.
Okay, so that's, infiltration system seems like it's pretty definite.
Yeah, and a lot of times when people don't go with the chamber systems is when they're massive chambers or massive systems, maybe 180 chambers. We're looking at, what is it? 8. And these chambers are not very big. They're 3.12 feet wide by 7 feet long. I think they're 16 inches tall.
Okay, and that's all underground, so what would be over the?
It'll be grass.
Just grass, okay.
We can't do any plantings on top of it. It has to be either loam and seed or maybe a crushed stone or pavement because the roots will get into it.
But you're proposing grass?
Grass.
Perfect. The board all set with questions?
I just had one more.
Go ahead.
The planning board meeting, they were concerned about the stormwater system, and it said that there was a stormwater report submitted, and that's been done and completed.
Yep, so the stormwater report was part of our initial filing.
Yep.
So the engineering departments reviewed it and they gave us their okay.
All right, thank you. I'm good.
Anyone else? Okay, public questions, comments? Mr. Bradstreet?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. I was at the meeting last night, and to me, the snow storage area, what's pushed back, even if sand or whatever is in that snow, it's still going to be somewhat contaminated. I would be concerned that until it is removed, and I'm not talking about a 1-inch snowfall, but this is New England. We have been blessed with storms that are more than just an inch. How do you stop any of that contamination, whatever it might be, from going back into the wetlands? Another thing, when we talk about permeable pavers, my idea of a permeable paver is one that the paver is full of holes, not just the perimeter for the only part for the water or such to leach through. How often is the oil-water separator cleaned? Where this is so close to the wetlands, no matter how big or close they are, I would be concerned with the property adjacent to as well as the wetland property because of the size of the building that's being constructed there. I'll listen to your answers if I have any more questions. Thank you.
I think as part of that, when we get to that point, we'll just make that a condition that a maintenance report has to be filed.
I think you raised a good point, Mr. Chairman, that I was picturing the pavers as bricks with holes in them like I've seen before, but with these, I mean, you're going to end up with sand. It just accumulates in driveways, streets, everywhere. Why won't that thing plug up over time? And then when it does, how do you clean it out? How do you get it to be permeable again?
Are you asking me?
No, I'm asking, well, no, I'm going to ask, I'll ask
Because I don't know.
any of these guys.
Do you mind going to sheet C8? So this is the permeable paver cross-section here. Like a standard paver, there are gaps between them, and this is where the coarse aggregate goes. There's different, I guess, types of aggregate that go down to the reservoir course. This is where you get all your filtration from, and this is where the water drains from. So in terms of sand, the maintenance on this is blowing it out. You would take a leaf blower and you would blow it out once a month. That's something that the landscaper can do. If we start seeing a lack of performance out of it, you'll come with a vacuum truck and you'll vacuum out that top layer, and then you'll put down some new aggregate in place of it. So there is more operation and maintenance involved with this than you would have a bituminous
So why wouldn't we
concrete.
use the other ones that don't require that kind of maintenance?
Those require the same maintenance.
Well,
They're-
there are more holes.
Yeah, but it's, this is also a driveway where people are going to be walking. Those are typically difficult to walk on. This is what we use most of the time with driveways, walkways, things like that.
Maybe we get some more information on that.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, that's not that big a deal.
And within our stormwater report, we do have a full section on operation and maintenance with every different stormwater component.
And it addresses that?
With the permeable pavers being part of the stormwater system, they are included in there.
Thank you.
Okay, I saw another hand.
Hi, my name's Eric Butler. I'm one of the neighbors. So my question is essentially right now,
Excuse me,
Can
Eric,
you
just one
speak up
second.
a little?
yeah, so
What's your address?
14 Hunt Street, right around the corner. So my question is, so right now, there's basically just natural runoff going down into the wetlands. So now we're adding, how many square feet is the roof?
6,000?
6,000?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking in a 10-year storm, the runoff is going to go into the wetlands. So have there been any assessments to any wildlife impact over and above the 10-year storm?
You want to just run through your questions and then we'll answer that in total? Is that your last question?
No, it's not my last question. Okay. Let me see. So also, when we get back to the snow, is there a drop-off? What's the elevation difference between the wetlands and up to the driveway? And the drop-off of that? Will that snow, once you push it over, even be able to be recovered if there's any contamination inside of that? Or will it just go right into the wetlands? All right. And have we also ensured that the wetlands is drained properly back into essentially to where the river comes through? Because if you take a look, it seems to be enclosed. And if you take walks back on the rail trail back behind there, there seems to be some interesting pooling and other things like that happening back there. And I believe that that's where it drains out to. So, essentially, wildlife impact, and there is wildlife that comes through there. Have there been any paths to make sure that occurs? To make sure wildlife can walk through those areas?
That's it?
So that's 3 questions?
I did. Is that,
Of 6 questions.
okay,
Are you going to respond, one of you going to respond then? Yeah.
okay.
With respect to wildlife, there were 2 questions about that, what impacts to wildlife habitat and possible paths for wildlife. wildlife habitat is one of the interests of the act, and there are impact thresholds for when a wildlife habitat evaluation is triggered. Because we're not impacting any bank resource area or any inland flood zone or any wetlands, we do not trigger any wildlife habitat impact thresholds. So therefore, we're not required to do any wildlife habitat evaluation. Having said that, the 0 to 50, we're not in the wetlands, so we don't have to, if wildlife is moving through that wetland, they're going to move through it afterward. There are commercial buildings and residential homes that surround this portion of the wetlands. If you would go to sheet C2, please, or the existing conditions sheet. One more, please. There you go. There are homes back here. There's the commercial building here. This is a sewer easement, and there is a berm here and a sewer manhole just inside just off the property. And there is a culvert that it was installed to allow water from one side of the berm to the other. None of that is being touched. It's all remains as it is, existing conditions. So any wildlife that's there is not going to be disturbed in the slightest bit because we're 50 feet away. All of this is presently open, maintained lawn. It's going to remain open, maintained lawn. The buffer zone essentially doesn't change. The difference in elevation between the wetlands and the edge of the pavement is about 2 feet. It's very gently sloping. It is going to be grass cover. If there is, I already told you we're not going to sand the driving surface. If any sand gets tracked in on vehicle tires and it does get pushed here, it's going to be minimal, but it will be trapped in that grass. The slope is slow, gradual, 2 feet over 50, that it's just going to get trapped in that maintained lawn area. And again, the wetlands draining properly, I touched on that. There is a culvert that allows the water from one side of the sewer berm to get to the other, and we're not disturbing that at all.
I think there was a little question too about the ability of the system to handle the 10-year storm with there being so much more roof surface now, and that's,
So
the engineers have figured that all out.
So again, as Jay said, they have either mimicked or reduced the pre-development rate of runoff with their drainage design, and it's been reviewed by engineering, and they've signed off on that. Everything that's coming off of the proposed building roof is clean roof runoff. The DEP says you can discharge that directly, you don't need to treat that.
Okay. Does that answer your questions? Eric? But it's not, though, right? It's going through the infiltration system.
It is going first through the infiltration system, then through the weir, and then it gets metered out. But overall, the design has mimicked the pre-development rate of runoff for the property.
Is that because you don't have to calculate the roof runoff?
No, it's all, I mean, I'm stepping into Jay's territory, but it's all considered and modeled. And that's why you have the infiltration area, that's why you have the weir system, so it meters out the water so that it mimics the pre-construction rates
There's
of runoff.
more water being produced, running off, you're just handling it.
Yes.
Because you're going from 1,200 square foot building to 5 times that size with 6,000. And so naturally, it's, roofs, it's going to be more water, because I'm assuming there was a lot of lawn or whatever there that just absorbed that water before.
Well, you model the entire existing conditions, which also included extensive driveway system up front as well. So between the driveway and the roof, it's probably equal to a wash. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's...
We'll look for that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we trust the engineers. to be thorough
Yeah.
and do that.
Oh, yeah.
Do you mind going to sheet C3? So right here, we have our impervious surface calcs. The increase in impervious area from existing to proposed conditions is 800 square feet. And that's because we have areas, like Bill said, the house, the driveway, there's a patio out back, different walkways throughout the site. And so all of our hardscape on this site is pervious. It's the permeable pavers. So the only impervious part of this development is the roof, and the entire roof is being treated within the stormwater system.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Ma'am? Show the hand up first. You're second. He's got to go first.
Annette Collins. I am a Precinct 1 town meeting member. I have questions
Your
about...
address, ma'am?
Oh, 24 Chase Street. So it's a block away from High Street, going towards the middle school. And I've been there for 53 years. So the wetlands, as they start and go behind the houses that are there now, including Mr. Bocelli's house, there are, I think, 3 others, maybe 4 houses altogether, and then the street, and then Ipazzi. So behind there, if you walk along Gould Street, you can look down and try to check the wetlands. And my question to you is, has there been encroachment on the wetlands in the last, say, 10 years? And who monitors the wetlands to make sure that the little encroachment from this one and the next one and the next one, and then you have people on the rail trail that are looking at all of that, and it's something we want to value. How do we know as townspeople that it's being observed and being watched and not encroached upon so that we lose it eventually?
You mean people are going beyond their boundary?
I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying
You're saying they
in
might?
observing this and the tendency, it's human nature. I've seen it in other places where I've spoken other issues in the town where people encroached on property that wasn't theirs because no one watches, and eventually, if you don't check it every now and then, so who walks through there and makes sure?
I think staff would address that, and there would be, they'd get a notice.
Yep, absolutely. If we were made aware that there was an encroachment onto the wetlands or town property or something like that, then we would go and investigate that, and then try to determine who had put that encroachment there, work with them initially with the letter, and then if things aren't changed, then with an enforcement order, and reporting it to DEP to have that encroachment.
So is there a baseline of how much water is there on an ordinary, say, April day? And then we have 3 downpours in a row. Does the water level come up and come into the yards? And, is there a map of that somewhere? Does, like, from 20 years ago, 10 years ago, today? How does that all look compared to maybe even 40 years ago?
So the Department of
I don't know
Public
how to
Works
answer
might have some of those records.
I don't think there is. No. I think, what I think I'm hearing you saying is, do the wetlands expand or contract?
Right.
Because are we monitoring that? And I would have to say, probably not.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, usually when there's a project, they have to have a wetland scientist like Mr. Manuel goes out and actually puts flags in to delineate it.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the extent of the monitoring change from
Which is
Yeah.
why
one year to the next.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
though, when they come out and if there's been wetlands delineated in the past, and then someone comes out years later, they might find they moved one way or the other. And we take that into consideration.
All right, that's why I've asked you. Thank you.
I saw another hand up, sir.
Malcolm Patterson. I live in 59 High Street, so I'm the next door neighbour. I was at the Tuesday night meeting as well with the planning board, and my question was in regards to the outflow of water that goes into the wetlands. how through time that may affect water coming back up into my property. Now, I think obviously that was answered the last night in regards to what the system that's put in place there, the 10-year system that's there. I guess with the climate changes and with things that are changing right now that we see every day and every year in regards to snowfall being more or less, rainfall being more or less, and I think a lot of rainfall, as we've seen over the last couple of years, is a lot more. How big is the system to withhold maybe that 10-year plan? Is there something in place there to say if the rainfall gets more and more consistent, that more water goes into the wetlands and that would back up onto our property? Is that something that's been looked at, and through the engineer, I'm sure he can answer that? And my second question then is about the wetlands itself in regards to where that overflow goes out of the wetlands. Has that been checked, or has that been looked at recently to see that that is happening, or where does it go? Because it seems like the more water we're getting right now, there's a lot of water that seems to be seeping up out of the wetlands, and it's getting more and more each year. So I guess the question on the wetlands is probably to the board, and the question for the 10-year plan in regards to the changes in volume that could come in place, how would that affect my property going forward?
Are you getting water on your property, sir?
From time to time, yes, at the very bottom, but my property at the line of the wetlands is a lot lower than Richard's is, but through construction and through everything else, my fear is that may start to come up a lot more into my garden. But obviously the construction site has just said they're going to remove all the material off the actual site, which is fine. My fear is just like if things change in the next 10 years in regards to the quantity of water that's going into that storm drain, and then what more water is being dumped into the wetlands. Is the relief from the wetlands working efficiently to get that water out of there, and is it big enough to be that capability? And then for the actual engineers, is that being designed into the calculations of the actual storm drain? If it does exponentially rise in the next couple of years, would that throw more water into the wetlands? If the draining system's not there or efficient right now in the wetlands, would that then back up into my lawn?
So, I think what they're saying is that the system they designed, that will be no worse than what it is. Will it be better or the same?
Yeah, I got that answer the last night, but I guess my question is that if rainfall continues to rise, like what's the capacity that this storm drain can hold over the next 10 years? Because things change on a yearly basis.
Is the 10-year storm, is that a standard? Have to meet the 10-year storm limits?
So the 10-year storm is just something that the town engineering department requests us to hold on site. The system is designed up to the 100-year storm.
I was going to say, that's more appropriate than 100-year.
So the system will hold, its volume is capable of holding a 10-year storm within its system. But the system is designed to cut down on peak rates of runoff and peak volumes all the way up to the 100-year storm. So a storm you would see once every 100 years. So,
100-year storms don't occur once every 100 years either.
Yeah, so, but this system's designed for that. And when there is a 100-year storm, there's a lot more issues than this site.
From what I'm hearing is if there's 100-year storms, it's going to be a town-wide problem.
It's going to be a town-wide problem.
Not
And
just this one particular lot.
Yeah, and we can only control what happens on this lot. We are not affecting the wetlands, so we're not affecting the volume of the flood volume that the wetlands hold. We're 50 or 35 feet away from that, from the nearest work that we're doing. So what we're proposing here is a benefit for flood volumes and peak rates of runoff.
Emily, could you just check with the engineering department and just have them verify that this wetlands does drain properly? Because I heard something about a culvert.
Of course, yep, absolutely.
Let's just see if the water has a place to go. And, I think that would hopefully alleviate your concerns. Mr. Bradstreet.
Bill Bradstreet again. One thing I noticed was for the destruction of or demolition of the house or property that's there, I would ask that the debris be removed daily. If it were piled before it's hauled away and you have a rainstorm, contaminants could come out of that and end up flowing towards the wetland. That would be one concern. The other thing, the wetland area has been flagged. Will those flags be removed at some point, or will they be left in place so that someone who wanted to watch what was going on could see from the street?
I think we generally require that signs be placed.
So they would be visible from the street? So we could see if there was a...
But they signs.
Without trespassing was what I was concerned with.
I'm not sure how that works. I just know.
Are we putting signs on?
We usually require
If you would like
signs.
to, if the commission would like
We
to condition
can.
that
We have
there's,
the
like, Danvers
authority to
Conservation
do it.
signs back there,
Yeah.
then that could be a condition that you put in there.
I would be concerned considering how busy that area is, businesses, what have you. I believe at one time there was some construction company that stored material in the back that might have been very close to, if not on part of that wetlands back there. I don't know if that was looked at. I'm going back from my memory, maybe not some other people's memory. Again, I'd be concerned with the demolition debris not being left in place, hauled away daily.
We could make that a condition.
I guess that's not your issue. That's, one was if the businesses occupy all of the bottom of these buildings, and again, that's not your business. If they park it on the street or on the property with droppings from these vehicles, add the contamination of the parking area. I'm concerned with the contamination that could take place on this property where it's so close to the wetlands.
Right.
I don't live there. I live in town. I drive by there and I see things. And it's my concern would be for the abutters, the town in general. Thank you.
Or maybe just another condition that no parking is allowed in that walkway area. Mary, do you have a question?
Could we go back to that original? Are there trees there that are coming down? Those circles on the front end?
Yep. So most of these are Norway maples. There are, if you go to the next sheet, everything that has an X through it is going to be removed.
Those are mature trees, Bill?
Those are, yes, they're mature trees. And there are 4 of them in the buffer zone. And on the very last sheet is the landscape plan, and that shows 4 trees that are going to be installed in the buffer zone. That's close enough.
Okay.
4 trees in the buffer zone along that northerly property line, plus 4 additional ones outside the buffer zone.
Do you know what type of trees they're going to be?
If you would go to the last sheet, please.
So was that a 1-for-1 replacement? Are you taking out 8?
In the buffer zone.
It's not 1-for-1.
So these are maple trees here.
The ones you're putting back in?
Yes.
And the ones that are there on the left side, are those staying?
These down here will stay. They're not going to interfere with the getting in and out of the parking spaces.
So it's not all the trees that are going to...
It's not all the trees, no.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
The likelihood of the demolition of the building going beyond a day is likely not going to happen. So that demolition process of the dwelling will likely occur within a 1-day period.
So everything will be removed as it's knocked down?
Correct.
Yeah. I have a question on your parking, again, curious. The delineated spaces, what are there, 16 there? 2, 4, 6.
There's 16 total spaces.
So if someone's parked in the back spaces and someone parked in the front, how will that work?
They're tandem spaces, 2 spaces per unit. So each unit has a tandem space.
Oh, so they own the space in front and behind?
Correct.
So, or the right to it? Yeah.
Correct.
I see.
They could get ugly fast, couldn't it?
It could if it wasn't that way.
Okay, board, what's our pleasure?
Well, I'd like to go out and see the property myself.
Me as well.
I don't know how the rest of the
Yep.
board feels, but.
I'm good with
So
it. I would like to.
I would make a motion for a site visit if I need to motion that, or.
I don't know if we need a motion
I don't
with
think
that.
I need, or we can just set it up.
One second,
Like,
please.
someone else?
Okay, so we're kind of on the same page. We all kind of want to get out there and see.
Yeah, we all want to go out.
Okay, you had a question?
Then we get to see the wetland too and get a real
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
for it, you know? There's a whole area back there, not your property, behind there where the trucks go in and out, right? That's near you, isn't it? Yeah.
Hi, Amy Butler, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1, 14 Hunt Street. I had two questions. The first one is about flooding. I know you're trying to do everything to mitigate that with the 100-year storm with the filtration system. But if there was any flooding that would happen to affect the abutters' properties, who's financially responsible for that? That's my first question. And my second question is, are there any stone structures on the current property site? Any walls or anything like that?
There is a stone wall between my property and the Pattersons' property. That is the only wall on the property. It's technically on their property. And my property, at that location, my property is lower than their property. But as we go back towards the wetlands, mine maintains the same elevation or slight slope, and theirs drops a couple of feet. The other question of the flooding, the responsibility would be the insurance company. Really?
But not yours?
Well, how,
It would
Well, the
not be
insurance
your
company.
insurance
How
company,
can
it would
we
be
even say
theirs,
that?
right?
Yeah, I don't even know how to respond to that, you know, that's, you know,
That's the insurance company's going to come in and decide if they're going to give
Exactly,
you
right.
insurance or not.
so are those properties in a flood zone?
No.
No, there is no flood zone there, is there?
correct.
Is
And
that right, Bill?
Yes, it's not in a mapped flood zone, and then as Jay spoke several times,
We've modeled the runoff so that we either mimic or reduce the amount of runoff and volume in the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storms. So if there is any flooding beyond that, it's going to affect everybody. It's
Right.
not from this property.
What is the reason for the wetlands being there? Is it from a,
Yeah, as I've described the wetland in my report, this is a depressional feature that's basically, it's between the properties on Beacon Street and High Street, and at least in this area, and then it drains out through that culvert that was installed underneath the sewer berm. So, you know, historically, I'm sure it was a low area, and folks have built all around it, and that's what's left.
how far back is the rail trail from here?
I'm not familiar, so, Rick?
The rail trail?
Not
that-
far.
I just have to think that being constructed how many years
there's
ago?
no adjacency to the rail trail.
Excuse me?
No adjacency to the rail trail.
How far back is it? I'm just.
Well,
I'm
there are
just-
houses.
I'm just
that maybe
theorizing
don't-
that the wetlands is there partially because of this rail structure that was built 150 years ago, and it just altered the drainage. That's all I'm getting at.
It's, from my point of view, it's a significant distance. You have Beacon Street, you have
Yeah.
another street, and then it comes on an angle. It's behind the paving company.
Or maybe not.
Do you mind going to sheet C1?
Making Emily scroll through these drawings, huh?
That's okay.
So this is our vicinity map on, one more.
Oh, sorry.
So this is the subject site right here. This is the rail trail. So the wetlands are somewhere in this area. This is 400 feet here, probably about 1,000 feet away.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we're all in agreement that we'd like to get out and see the site. So can Emily and the applicants kind of make
Yep.
some sort of mutually agreeable
Absolutely.
plan, and we will continue?
Yeah, are we going to try after work hours, on weekend?
Well, for me, it doesn't matter. But yeah, usually Emily will send out an email, it just says
Yeah.
when we're available, and we kind of get to some.
If possible during the week, it's light till
Yeah.
7:30 now, so.
Yep, absolutely. I'll
So
send
we'll
an
get
email out.
together on that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we just find that site visits whenever we can. it's,
Absolutely,
very
we expected that.
informative. Okay, that being said, we need to continue this hearing. So if someone can make a motion to do that?
All right, I'll make a motion that we continue the hearing for 61 High Street, DEP file number 14-1432 to, our next scheduled hearing date? Is it
Yep.
good with the applicant, yeah?
And get it done in 2 weeks?
Yeah, we
that-
can try to get this in
We
2
can
weeks.
do it in 2 weeks?
Yep, I think so.
All right,
All right, so the 24th.
24th then.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Okay,
right, thank you.
we'll see you then. We'll see you before then. Old or new business, the first thing we'll talk about is minutes from the March 13th, 2025 meeting. Presuming everyone's had a chance to review those, and if so, someone can make a motion to accept those, and we'll be done with it.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the March, 13th, 2025 meeting.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to discuss?
For the April 24th meeting, so far we have one new notice of intent. That hearing will open up that evening, and there's also 2 certificates of compliance for that evening. And then, of course, the continuation for tonight will be on the 24th. So I'll be getting all that information out to you most likely tomorrow or Monday afternoon.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Do we have any
Emily.
recruits to join us on the,
We are trying. I keep reaching out. I'm going to work with Aaron tomorrow. I think we're going to try to put a big news flash on the website too. We're trying. We're working on
okay.
it.
Peter, I used to live
Maybe the
on-
new town manager can
Yes.
bring someone in with her.
I used to
I'll try to
live
put in
on
a good
High
word.
Street, right near there, when I was a little kid. And behind back there was Weathersfield. They made cartons of milk and bottles, and they had a conveyor and a factory. They used to dump all the cartons in the back, and it was all wetland and dump, basically.
Yeah?
So, yeah, it's been there for a long time.
Times are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times are different.
Sure.
Okay,
All right.
we're all set then, right?
I'm all set here, so.
Okay,
Great.
motion to adjourn?
Yeah, all right. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you all.
All right. Thanks for all your...